Welcome back, everybody. Got a special guest today, Axis Alive. You might have heard of him. He's one of those smart guys in crypto. We got a bunch of great people in the chat already. Vets in Crypto, thanks for coming. Red Squirrel, Zenith, Kaiza, the regulars, Paul Newman, Ita Shaw, Ike, Tam Tam, Dix Insiders got his TV dinner out. That's great to see. Crypto BD, Tam Tam, Nate, Dix Insider. That's right. Get your TV dinners ready, Trailer Park boys. We're about to just talk about, how to keep building in the bear, how to stay positive, and what's actually good going on to look forward to. A lot of people just see price down. We're having a big correction right now, but something interesting to take a look at that Axis pointed out. People that don't know Axis, go follow Axis Alive on Twitter, Telegram, all that stuff. But we've noticed somewhat of a maybe reversal in the Hex PLS ratio. Do you want to talk about that?
That's a good starting point. I think a lot of Hexicans probably watch this stream. So I think it's appropriate to announce here that we've broken out of this massive falling wedge on the pulse ratio. Maybe here I'll pull it up here. We can share a little screen action and see.
That'd be great.
Watch it together.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here.
There we go. Is that cool?
Yeah, it looks good. All right. So here is the all-time p-hex chart measured in pulse terms. The all-time low was somewhere down here around 70 p-hex. I'm sorry, 70 pulse per p-hex. And then for how many days this is, let's see. We peaked at 257. Let's see, PLS per hex. And the time frame was, so we spent 164 days going up 3.6x against pulse. And ever since we peaked there, this, by the way, this was around the time that Alex the Whale entered the EHEX space. So I want to remind everybody that, new whales coming in, good or bad, do have good outcomes. And that is that he spiked the price up, PHEX 45%. Actually, let's see here. 54.97% in just 6 days on the back of EHEX strength. And you could think about that and think or say what you will about your opinions on EHEX, but just that the last time we got any damn good price action in PHEX was because a clown whale came in and pumped EHEX. So just think about that for a second.
That's a good point. A lot of people, myself included, I had not even thought of that. When I hear Alex the clown whale, I'm just like, I roll my eyes because he got me to ape into EHEX at I think I bought like $1,000 worth or something after the pump. But it's good to point out the residual effects of the fact that it also pumps PHEX. These are all bonded, so we do get some benefit even from people trying to mess with the EHEX chart. If there's ever some random diversion from I guess the mean, whatever the mean ends up being. That's another question we could talk about. I don't know if you think that the ratio of EHEX to PHEX has been decided now, but fuck, man, it doesn't seem like it can get much lower than this.
All right. Well, since this is a good thing to talk about. So I talk about this privately in the group a lot, which is the ratio and kind of comparing it to ETH Classic and ETH. Not that it's a direct comparison, but that maybe there's like certain insights we can get from measuring past performance of other forked types of coin situations or FUD type situations, because I think this was a bit of both. Now, I do believe also that EHEX and PHEX are obviously the same exact code, and it really just comes down to the dollar amount it costs to play with the protocol. At the end of the day, that's the difference maker. The distribution dynamics are about to change because you have a whole new class of people getting tens of millions and hundreds of millions of EHEX because of the price is so low. So that we could kind of set in a divergence down the road because you're going to see different players with different motives getting into EHEX now that it's so cheap. That could be good or bad. I'd like to think it'd be good longer term. What are your thoughts on some of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's got the ability to snap up quickly just due to the fact that almost nobody is holding it anymore. I mean, people have actually tried to do the effective real market cap minus the OA coins. And at this point, with everybody dumping, everybody that had sacrificed EHEX or even PHEX, if you want to call it that, has a relatively low market cap. I know market cap doesn't matter, but when you talk about a circulating supply of coins, that's more what I'm focusing on here. These old hexes, I think, don't have a whole lot of circulating supply left. And yeah, obviously you can see on the screen now for the day, Hex is up 11%. Everything else is 2 or 3%. Interesting. We'll see if this.
Hey, did your mic kick over to something else or something? It sounds muffled. Just it like snapped. It went muffled for a second.
Well, what about now?
That's better.
Okay. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, all I was saying.
You're
is,
saying 13 or 11%. Hex
yeah,
is up
you got
today?
11% move on Hex for the day, but 2 or 3% on everything else. You can see a bit of a breakout on that chart. We have to probably wait a few more days to confirm that, but it looks pretty good.
So assuming that this is the lows. I mean, you could go take this a step further. You can see that price went range sideways from those lows for 35 days. So we spent like 35 days, minus a few days in here where we tried to break out and came back into it. This thing's been just range bound. This is an accumulation range before a break. So it was kind of nice to see that this breakout here closed above the edge of my falling wedge, which is basically 2 connector points. That wick high and on October 24th, and then this wick high here on the 11th of January. And so then you close this candle on the daily above it, green, everything looked good, and there wasn't like this massive candle that came out of there, which to me says this is a clean, steady breakout. It's not a lot of attention on it or anything. It wasn't like a pump, like that was a marketing pump or anything. It's just regular accumulation, just redistribution. With a nice steady breakout. So this is telling me that this may actually build up momentum and have more legs. And you can kind of see that here on GoPulse, how it's actually moving ahead of everything else. How appropriate for Hex to finally, pick its head up and start the bull run here.
Yeah, and it happened at a nice round number too, of 100 PLS per Hex. I thought that was a little interesting. Not that I mean, people like round numbers and unit bias and all that. But yeah, we do have the daily confirmation, and today, so far as I can tell, it's an organic pump. I don't know of any founder buybacks happening, but we'll see. I hope it's Hex season again, and I can tell you right now, there's optimism for a Hex on ramp, a direct Hex from PulseChain on ramp being built right now, fiat on ramp, which hopefully will accelerate things. That's just something that I've been kind of keeping a track on in the background here.
Cool. And so yeah, we welcome all that, and so if this thing follows through here, we could be seeing a 60-70% pump against Pulse. A good way to multiply your Pulse here would be capturing these lows on PHEX. This isn't like something that just started now. If you look into the MACD, the sentiment or the MACD's bottomed out here way back in November, and it's been up ever since. So this is actually very, very bullish. Seeing this kind of continual positive slope and trend in the MACD. Very little sell bars are in here. They're like peppered in here, but it just the sentiment is so poor for Hex that it's gotten the privilege of playing possum now for a while and letting smart money buy it all up. And the same thing with the RSI. You can see it's just on a positive slope. Higher highs and higher lows. Here we are about to go test a key level, 62. So don't be surprised if the RSI here on the daily pops up above this level, gets punched back down, and then this is your last chance to buy maybe before we go up and make a bigger move. And then exactly what that translates to in the price chart may be, a move up to like these levels here where we get those candle bodies around 140 to 1, and then a retracement for a higher low, test that as support, and then a move up into here about 60 to 70%. So yeah, I mean, PHEX looks great. And both of these cycles, the cycle up, bull market cycle up here, this little first leg, and then the first bear cycle down inside of these micro cycles inside of the bull market here against Pulse. I mean, that was 163 days on the first one, 143 days on the other one. So, that's about pretty even. Time spent going up is time spent going down, and I think it's time to flip that around. And hopefully we'll see. If you just measure out to where we got the breakout, it's 176 days. So they're about the same amount of time spent doing both directions. It's appropriate now to see some upwards movement out of Hex after this long. I'll show you the ETH Classic chart and measured in Ethereum, because this kind of gives us an idea of how crazy apart ratios can get. It's one of my favorite things to show people. Now, if you look here at ETH Classic, it spent a long time getting its ass whooped by Ethereum. But inside of here, there was these massive patterns that printed, where this was a really fun ratio trade to take for people, I'm sure. See, in terms of percentage up and down from this bottom to this, 100% up, retrace the whole move, then you go up, 375%, so 4.7x. I mean, this is kind of what we saw again with the EHEX to PHEX ratio. Let's see if I can find that again. Where did I put that? Yeah, so here on the EHEX to PHEX ratio, it went all the way up to 10 to 1. I don't know if you'll get these kinds of moves on this ratio anytime soon necessarily, but it isn't a bull flag, and PHEX is the leader here. So it's going to come up and test this up here, and whether that RSI gets rejected here, and then this ratio comes back down a little bit first, and then goes out, or if it breaks it, comes back to test and goes out. I think PHEX is going to overperform EHEX for a little bit, and then if this went up to 10 to 1, how high could it actually go? Well, in ETH Classic terms, over the entirety of this cycle, it went up. ETH went up 4,000% over, so 40x over ETH Classic.
But still, it's remarkable that ETH Classic got dragged up so much along the way. And I mean, people will just trade anything with a ticker symbol. That's kind of proof right there. Is you still got people trading Bitcoin Cash. You've still got people trading Ethereum Classic. People are still mining it. I think that's like a popular thing to mine. But let's just hope that the same thing with EHEX, it just might get dragged up along for the ride. Probably lackluster gains compared to regular Hex, PHEX, whatever you want to call it nowadays. But it's not going anywhere, so I'm hoping.
Yeah, I would say that it won't. It'll actually perform pretty impressively. I would be surprised not to see EHEX have 100x this cycle. Here's an example of ETH Classic going up 54.5x versus the dollar, from the 2018 lows to the last cycle highs. So I mean, it's possible to see 50x's off the coin like that. To get EHEX to 100x, it only has to hit like 14.5 cents. So that means if PHEX goes to $1.40 and EHEX goes to 14 cents, that's 10 to 1. If it goes to 1.4 cents at $1.40, it's 100 to 1. So I easily EHEX is going to 10x. And by the way, those aren't small gains, especially if you factor in the potential for that to be not just like a 10x maximum this cycle, but that's where it comes back down to off a high, and that's where you bottom out. I mean, buying below a penny, I think, on both the hexes is like a generational opportunity. Eventually, you're just not going to be able to get either hex ever again at these prices, and that just ended up becoming like a money printer in your back pocket. So this is a narrative that I've been talking about for 2.5 years about, don't get left behind, and like the hexes are going to have their day in the sun, and it's still true to me. I believe that looking in the bottom of the next bear, you'll have a couple different options. You'll have like ink farming, which will look a lot worse because bear markets are bad for ink. Or you'll maybe have the hexes where their floor prices are just a lot higher because of other factors that goes on in PulseChain, which cements in much, much higher prices across the board.
Yeah, under a penny, I never thought I'd see it again, honestly. I thought we were safe above 3, and then you got the whole combined Hex narrative. But look, I do believe still that Hex is going to all-time highs over 50 cents. I mean, $1 to $2 for PHEX seems reasonable to me still. People don't realize how low liquidity it is. I mean, relative to a typical market or a market that's more mature like Ethereum, it really doesn't take that much millions of inflow to pump these things astronomical. PulseChain too. Even though PulseChain is the most liquid, there's really only like $40 or $35 million of stablecoin liquidity on PulseX. Now, yeah, across Fox and 9mm, probably a little bit more. But it's we saw $1 billion come into the base ecosystem in the course of a month, right? Just because it was the seasonal trendy thing. So all it takes is a little spark to ignite this ecosystem where PulseChain becomes the trendy hot new thing. People are, I mean, when people are ready for PulseChain, they've got so much under the hood to get stuck in. Like you've got these sticky like sub communities that are building meme coins or DeFi or pick your narrative. We've kind of got that for you. to quote unquote diversify, even though really when you're investing in an ecosystem, I kind of maintain that this stuff all goes up and down more or less together, but people will play those games of, trying to guess and speculate which coins might short-term outperform Pulse as well.
Oh yeah, dude. There's a lot of opportunities on PulseChain. Obviously, the straight up maxis probably don't like hearing that. I would consider us all kind of like converted maxis in a lot of ways. Not that you don't have to still have a good place in your heart for like the core assets. I think that's where the economic energy sits long term. But there's plenty of opportunities on PulseChain to make money, as we've seen in the past few weeks.
Yep.
And now all these sub communities are starting to pop up that have economic energy behind them and the desire to perform well. And diehard communities, and something I've been talking about on a lot of the other streams lately is just how important that is, picking the right founders with the right mission and sub communities that's going to like take you in and help teach you and educate you on like how to best get ahead in this game. And by the time that we've taught, like let's say PulseChain, all of us that are here now, by the time we've taught the next 100,000 people, then real crypto nerds, geeks are going to come over here and they're going to have fun and that's really what's going to send prices a lot higher off the back of potentially some of these different developments that can come up with, like the PDI thing or the case coming into October this year. And I just see it as a lot of things can line up, and even if just like a quarter or half of them turn out to play out, like the prices of the base assets are just going to moon.
Yeah, I mean, look, I still remember the days when no one ever thought Hex could hit 1 penny, and then when it does the blow off top, which I think it probably it can do again. Look, no guarantees. Past performance is not a guarantee of future and all that. But when cryptos like this that have a strong community backing them do have blow off tops, like that's really where all the early adopters get rewarded. So that 1 penny to 50 pennies range was hugely rewarding for anybody that believed sub 1 penny for that entire year that we were below a penny. And now that it's almost going to be the same way with 50 cents. Even if we only go to $1, anyone buying in the sub 3 penny range is going to be thrilled.
Let's look at the dollar chart here. So we haven't done that yet. I mean, Hex hasn't even had really a chance yet to get up, but I was doing some thought process through this on Mark's stream the other day, and just like had this, my chart here is kind of invalidated because we're getting a pump. And if it holds, that's good. I mean, this is kind of like assuming that this faded, like EHEX kind of faded off these lows, but the P-Hex ratio is already implying that we've broken out. So it's something that the dollar chart isn't giving you yet. Is this? It's still saying we're in this like downtrend. We need to break this, and then like this thing could really just shoot up here. But I think what I wanted to say was this. I was looking at the supply dynamics here on hexfire.io. I wanted to see like, okay, how much Hex is available? How much economic energy is it going to take to pop up the price, or like to absorb a lot of the supply? And with that, how much supply is actually on the market? And so if I go into these charts here, I'll be able to pull up the liquidity across all pools on PulseChain and Ethereum for Hex, both of the Hexes. So this is a cool dashboard that he put together. These beakers represent how much dollar liquidity, how much dollar value of Hex is on the pools. From left to right, you got EHEX liquidity on the ETH side, and then on the second to the left is EHEX liquidity on the Pulse side. And then you have Hex liquidity and then Pulse liquidity. So there's a little more Hex for sale, about $1 million more, roughly, than there is Pulse liquidity in dollar terms. And those numbers look like this. They look like 1.1 billion EHEX. That EHEX is a lot of that is BankX. 700 million of that is BankX between 007 and 1.4. So you could actually kind of say that more realistically, up until 007, there's less than a half a billion EHEX available for sale on the PulseChain side. And then in terms of PHEX, there's 1.6 billion. So a little bit more, quite a bit more than there is EHEX available. So EHEX is actually more scarce, and you can kind of see that reflected in the dollar value as well. Not only is there less units, but there's less dollar value of them available because it's so depressed, which to me says that EHEX can be leveraged on everything. It can just like spike like a meme coin at any time, especially up to that where that BankX wall starts for sure. And then if whales get hungry and like let's say PHEX is already way expensive, then they're just going to come after the cheaper hex at that point. So if you ran this like $1 million buy, or like how much money would it take to push the price up to that like 10-cent level, which is the reason why I say 10 cents is because it feels a lot like with just like $5 to $10 million, you could easily get PHEX up into that range. And then I basically took this is what it would look like. Like we've already spent on a log chart, we've already kind of came up almost to the halfway point of getting to 10 cents before. And so had we got there and then maybe replicated kind of what we saw with EHEX back in the day, you know, we could be seeing 80 cents, 90 cents, $1, you know, into next year, easy, no problem. And so then like in terms of how to get to this 10-cent level quickly, it wouldn't take a lot of energy. Like if I think, let's assume no buyers or any sellers came into the market and it's just what it would take to get there when there's 1.6 billion PHEX on the market. I was trying to get this thing to propagate a buy order here with like $500,000 to see what the slippage would be. But I think I did it the other day. So $500,000 buy order on Hex slips the price 6.7%. So that's not really indicative of the actual price move that you get. It'd probably be somewhere around like 10 to 12% move. Mm-hmm. But you could assume that if somebody came in with 5 or 6 million, that's like every time they come in with $500,000, it's the slippage actually enhances further and further. So
well, let's even just take the USD value of the liquidity on EHEX, right? You said there's only $1 million worth or $1.5 million worth. So with $750,000 million, that would basically double that liquidity pool, 4x the price. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it'd go a lot higher than 10%, but that's just assuming
this one's PHEX here. So
PHEX. Oh, sorry. Yeah, PHEX is different. It's like 10x higher.
So PHEX is still easier to move than Pulse and PulseX. EHEX is like super easy to move. So, but so back to the PHEX thing. Like, I wish this would give me a quote. Come on, Pitius, get your shit together.
Just refresh it. Just click the refresh.
Yeah, it likes to fart around. Let's see how much is. There's 800 grand buy. Hopefully that'll give me something. All right, let's do a $4 million buy. What's that give us? So if there's 13 million liquidity in the pool, and you put 13 million in the pool, you're taking half the supply off the market with one market buy. So that's like that's like 700,000 or 700 million of this PHEX gone off the market in a snap of a fingers, and you 4x the price. It actually does a little more than that. But if you taper in your buys, so if you allocate 13 mil, but you taper in your buys slowly, the market's going to come in with you and play the game, and so then you're actually going to get probably more than a 10x, and more than 700 million of this is going to be taken off the map. Then the question becomes, how many new sellers step in at that level to put Hex back in the pools to replace, and how much bid support comes in at those levels?
I think people always underestimate how much FOMO buying happens when people see big whales splashing around, and how much people retract on their previous bearishness, like including whales. Like people that were gonna sell at a 10x, maybe some of them stick to their guns, maybe some of them stick to their plan, but everyone's got a plan until crazy high volatility comes in. And then they get swept up with the emotions like everyone else.
Yeah, and I mean, like the little mini bull run we saw on the solid index lately, that was kind of proof of that, you know, where people really felt the FOMO on that run. And like, look, even if you just get here on PX, even if you just get this one day where it's just like boom, and we tap 10 cents, I don't think people understand. Yeah, there can be sell pressure that comes in the order of magnitude of millions and millions of dollars, but if there's somebody smart that backfills with some liquidity, this thing could fall, 60, 70%, but we're still holding 3 cents of support. That's going to set up nicely for going into 2025. And I think this is kind of where my head is at is, are we going to do a cadence? Probably. We'll probably take a nice cadence up to like 3 cents, sell back down, and then build up for another wave up to maybe 5, and then boom, and then that'll be like a 3-wave sequence, and then I assume that then we'll just go sideways for some time, and then this is kind of like where we chop through new and old investors playing the game. And I mean, $1 hex is easy to hit once you get past like these resistance levels on here. And you know, if this is what PX is going to do, what is the rest of the RH coins going to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, PHEX is the lower liquidity coin. PHEX and PulseX, compared to Pulse itself, are lower liquidity, so more prone to pumps and dumps. It's fun to go look back and see the last time the founder did quote-unquote buybacks and maybe injected a total of 14 million into the ecosystem, roughly. It's fun to see what happened, and it's almost like it makes you wonder if he was testing the waters, right, and just seeing what would happen with this much injected and how much of a pump would follow after, and then how much of a dump would wash people out after as well. So if you are this whale and you're playing games, maybe, you know, it's a conspiracy theory, right? But maybe that $14 million is like 1/10 of what is intended to be done someday in the future, right? Wishful thinking, I know, but if 14 million can effectively double the price and cause some FOMO buying, and then if you just wait, as we've seen today, if you wait 2 more months after that and the price dips 60, 70%, imagine that on a scale 10x larger, right? Because what you're doing is you're a lot of these people that bought on the way up are the same people selling on the way down because they're just emotional buyers. So it's just kind of a test bed. I feel like those previous buybacks to see what would happen.
Also, I love the hex naysayers when we saw the same type of thought process from the ink trade. So like, and if you go back to, you know, if you remember, I don't know, you were on the cruise with me, and I was saying like it's going to be hard to see ink hit like $10 this cycle, and that was, you know, so here the irony, right? It's because before PulseChain launches, I'm saying ink can go to $1,000, and by the way, that's my stance today too. But then when you really get down in the depression zone down here, where it's just literally like pancake price action, the emotions hit everybody. Like when you're seeing this, like there's just no no sign of life. You definitely have concerns, but then this kind of shit happens and it changes everything. So if I flip log on, like look at the 22x that you got out of this coin. You know, this can easily happen for PHEX. Look, there's $34 million of liquidity now on ink, and there's $26 million of liquidity on PHEX.
Right. Well, you do have to combine all the liquidity pools probably. Like there's an ink pulse pool as well. But actually go back to Hex Fire, because I'm not quite sure he had that. There's one number, like the vial or the test tube on the right hand side, the PLS liquidity. Seems like there's more than $12 million of pulse liquidity.
Oh, for sure. I think this is in the Pulse Hex pool.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Because let's see.
What would the Hex pool be?
Yeah,
like
there's 163 billion in the Hex Pulse pool. So his number would be off by just about, what is that, like 7 or 8 billion or something. So yeah, I think this is. So what was your question? What would the?
I was just wondering how the Hex Fire website
so we can
those numbers.
We can look here on the detail page and see the pools that he's actually tapping. So like, so this is all what the values he's picking up. He's looking at pulse. So for these are the hexes. So I can't see where the pulse pools he's tapping. But I'll tell him to add the pulse tab as well. But you can see that. So he's pulling data from 9-inch, 9mm, easy swap, pulse rate, PulseX.
Gotcha.
For the PHEX, and then for EHEX on PulseChain, similar probably setup. And then for Hex on Ethereum, he's just hitting Uniswap, Pancake Swap, and Shiba Swap. He's even got the $55 on Ethereum on Shiba Swap. So come on, guys. He's trying his best.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know the importance of having data that's representative of the closest to the truth. So we'll go back and we'll get find out what exactly where he's pulling this from. Because I'm assuming it would just be the main Wrap Pulse Hex pair, which is where most of the liquidity is, right? This 12.61 million is, you know, this is saying 13 million. So it's on each side. So then that makes sense to me that's kind of where he's getting that number from.
Yeah, there's 26 million in that PulseX pair today. So roughly that's about 13 on each side. That makes more sense now.
Somebody said 9-inch BBC to the moon. I went over here. I had to see if it was moving.
The old PulseX playbook, it seems, with the BBC pump, which just happened the other day. I'm pretty happy about it. It got me interested in those yield farms over on 9-inch.
Yeah, me too. Hey, I mean, I might as well, no shame in showing, like, they just listed the solid index, so of course that made me happy. You know, it gives me me and my community a way to farm some incentive coins, and they just happen to be called Big Bonus Coin. But
and then you've got stuff to do with the BBC token as well. Like you could park it in single side staking, or I don't know if voting is active yet, but it's also the voting token. So, you know, it's got some utility if that's your cup of tea. Hey, Crypto Artie, thank you for the tip. Fourth quarter into 2025 will be glorious for all patient Hexicans. Congrats to all those that weathered the storm with sunshine. Love the optimism. Love the positivity. Gaining INC, LPing, and Hex with staking. Great stream combo with Axis and coffee. Hashtag redeem the peg. Yeah. The pegging is something
we definitely have to talk about that. It wouldn't be appropriate if we didn't come on here together and start some controversy, right?
The pegging, right? I'm pretty sure you're a fan. Like you believe in it through and through.
Well, I believe that. I'm at the point now where I'm 100% confident that PDI can hit $1. Like
it can. Me too. I'm
like, there's no doubt in my mind that PDI is going to take a shot at $1 this cycle. And then in terms of all the speculation around the pegging, can it happen? Will it happen? Will it not happen? You know, what's going into all that? I mean, that's a deep rabbit hole with not a lot of answers. Devs will say it's impossible because there's collateral in those vaults that can't be moved, and there's other people that'll say that it is possible by other means. And so, you know, we're talking to like a general audience here, so I don't think we need to go like too far down into the technicals and get into the stuff that I don't even fully understand and give the wrong impression. But on the surface, I mean, look, people know that the PDI can go to $1 at this point, and this is in the face of like whales actively saying that they're going to dump the PDI price here, and it's just they can't seem to. Yeah, they say they're selling their PDI here, right? And it's done $14 million of volume over 13 days, $15 million of volume over 13 days, but yet this somehow is still holding its levels. And it's because of how deeply tied the liquidity of PDI is to the Atropa ecosystem. And so Atropa is also mirroring the same pattern and going about to break out against its highs. And then another supporting element of this is Teddy Bear, which is now breaking out against Pulse. It did a perfect breakout. So it bounced around inside of this ascending triangle, broke out, retested, and now resumed. And it's going higher. And this, if Bear's going to do well, which it's got its whole own little narrative. And
what is the narrative? Because Bear, okay, other than being Richard Hart's Teddy Bear meme, like, and the fact that B-Roots talks about it, what is it really?
That's all you need is like the fact that B-Roots talks about it, and he's got almost 100,000 followers, and he gets on big shows. That's going to be enough for this thing to go do some crazy performance. Like I imagine, put yourself in the shoes of B-Roots, who's maybe did very, very well on Shiba Inu, and he lived that, and he wants to relive the Shiba Inu pump again. How better of a way to do it than to do it with your own coin? I mean, he's basically the ambassador for Bear at this point, and the performance shows since the lows. I mean, it's performed amazingly well, and so like in moments like this, so it's up 17x from this wick low here, the bottom, and it's like close to the highs, but it hasn't made new highs against Pulse yet, whereas PDI against Pulse, I believe, did make new highs. So yeah, it made new highs, and we're testing that as support. So PDI was ahead of it, Bear's behind it, but now Bear's getting momentum, and that's going to drag up the P stables along with it, and Atropa as well. So they're going to take turns while one isn't performing, the other one can, and they can float up together. Now, I will say this about PDI currently, because it just showed up, is there's a bearish cross on the MACD, and we haven't had one of these since back here, and this led to this kind of retracement. So if you're looking to buy PDI, well, maybe you wait for the retest here, and if it breaks down and gives you like a head and shoulders, well, then you really get a chance to buy good down here, because I don't think in either case and in any event that this is going to stop. Like, this thing is going to continue to build up because there's so much liquidity burnt away and so many tokens interacting in such a way that creates positive price pressure and like building of LP, so that eventually the existing supply in the user hands just isn't enough to keep it suppressed down anymore. And we've seen this before with like the Axis chart, where when when people leave the system, like let me switch to the dollar here. When people, yeah, you get these massive drawdowns because like early guys decide that they're smarter or better than the founder of this coin, and then when that happens, they just get left behind over and over again, and it's because you have no more power in the system. So like with fixed supplies or with things that are tied in with other deep liquidity nets like this, where the user runs out of supply and power in the system to keep it suppressed, they just continue to rise along with everything else. That's like V2 Uniswap technology is pump proven technology, and it's the best thing going on PulseChain. I know people like to talk about V3 and how much power that gives to individual users, but the magic of what's going to make PulseChain successful is the Uniswap V2 fork and PulseX. That's the magic. And 9inch does not V2 as well, so it
just creates a lot more of a predictable scenario. If you only need XYZ dollar value to pump the coin this exact amount. V3 is great for advanced liquidity games, but it does also allow people to put up just these sell walls. And if everyone's doing that, it's like that's why I'm a little hesitant to talk about that strategy and stuff, because it's like, well, if everyone starts doing that, none of your meme coins are going to pump if the first thing you do is just buy a ton of it and put it in sell side liquidity and But obviously, we should educate the whole entire playing field so that they all know what's available to them. But the symmetric liquidity it forces people to take both the bid and the ask side when they put up the risk of impermanent loss. And yes, you have easier pumpability, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a certain magic to what's that?
Oh, unless for some reason all your coin on V3 is only in buy side liquidity. Like you saw the Gophers thing do quote unquote roof pull, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, how did that happen?" And it's like because they literally just had a giant buy wall instead of a giant sell wall.
Yep. But then what went wrong with that one? That's the question. Is like, well, why is it? Well, and is it going wrong, right? So there's a lot of liquidity supporting the price. Like it says, there's 10 billion. Let's look at this one. There's 10 billion PLS. What is this on Uniswap? Uniswap.hedron.pro.
Yeah, this is the Hedron V3, but 9mm has one too.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this particular. How do I just see the? Oh, I guess I can't.
You're on the Ethereum network.
Yeah, let's switch over to here. Good old-fashioned unregistered securities. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked at this pool. What I'm trying to do is find the histogram for it, and yeah. I'm pretty sure this.
9mm should pull it up, right? They're better about that.
So you see on Dex screen up here where it says it's PulseChain, but it's on the Uniswap Dex. That's literally the forked Uniswap Dex and I think the only way to get to that histogram is through this front end.
Oh. I don't know. You could try. I mean.
Yeah, I don't see.
Yeah, I do think 9mm redeployed the whole thing.
Let's see, 9mm Gophers.
Congrats to the Solidex winners, by the way. I'm not one of them. I somehow managed to fuck that up, believe it or not. I blame Hexy Bastard, but I was in profit for a while. It was great while it lasted.
I don't know what happened.
It basically at the very top candle, that the Darth Maul candle, Hexy Bastard was like, yo, Godwhale was just seen buying the token, which might have been true, but I emotionally bought because I'm, again, learn from my mistakes, people. I bought on the emotion of hearing about Godwhale buying. I bought back in, and the next day, down 80%, 70%. So wrecked. Now, yes, we've recovered since then, but yeah, I don't know. I was out. Like I wasn't even at home, so I was like buying on my hot wallet with my phone. just like a bad thing to do.
That one kind of hit hard and fast, didn't it? Look at this pennant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I'm obviously biased and bullish on anything in the index. It's got a lot of upside potential, and I think that there's the right kind of people, kind of assimilating around it, and people that believe in the narrative and believe in holding it. And so that's really a huge piece of why I think this coin and this series of coins can go a lot higher. So it hurts to have to allocate, but if you get like a wet dream scenario for Solidex would be like a break of this pennant to the downside for people to be able to buy 50% off, 75% off from these levels. But the question is, will the whales give that to them? I don't know, man.
Yeah, that $50 range was maybe the local bottom. We're all guessing.
Yes, sir. And it's funny how this bonded liquidity is basically printing the same chart. I'll point something out. I'll teach your people something here. So this is the axis chart on the hourly, and then this is the axis chart. Let's see, what am I looking at? Dollar terms. Let's go look at dollar terms. Boom. And this is the Solidex chart on the hourly. I'm going to point out something for you. If you can see here, what happened was there was the initial Darth Maul, then there was a rebound, like an automatic rally, and then this thing basically, you could kind of argue that it tried to bottom here, but it really didn't. And so then it went basically ABC, wave down. And then on axis, though, it did not happen the same way. Even though they were bonded together, let's see here. You had like the A, the B, and then there was a C wave. And then there was like a double bottom here, an attempted correction before like a big sell-off. And there was a couple tells in here. I went and looked at the blockchain to see what happened. And what this is at this point in the axis history, a big liquidity provider between Solidex and Axis pulled the LP and disconnected them from each other, and then started to come in and support the price to see if it could not get up and going on its own.
Oh.
And so because it was no longer bonded to Solidex, Solidex wasn't pulling it down anymore with it. And so then what that ended up happening was it went up, 38%, 32% before this happened. And what this was these sell candles in here was it's a Hex Dolphin. Don't know who it is. Guy that got in way in the early days around like $640 to $800. And he was the first guy to push Axis above to $1,500 level. And he's came back in multiple times over the course of history and supported price every now and then and helped push it up to new all-time highs. He was the one that created the breakout to 20K the first time. He came in here and he started dumping. He dumped 2 coins of Axis down here and chased Solidex. And then the market maker came in here and pumped it back up. And then that's when Axis like ripped. Then he came back in after the pump and after this disconnection in the recovery, and he started unloading all of his Axis, and he actually completely liquidated his Axis position into Solidex and PDI. So this guy, what I think is happening here is he believes that PDI can go to $1. And he really believed and was having FOMO about Solidex. Because then a day later, like somewhere in here, he took the $500,000 of Solidex and dumped it. And he dumped it for PDI. So the dude's got a massive PDI stack. He liquidated all of his Axis and his Solidex holdings. And so that my thought is like, well, a guy like that supported the Axis price for like 6 or 7 months, came in here during the Hex conference, and pushed it up over to 20K level live on the Hex conference. It's like, is this guy just trying to get to the PDI to $1 narrative? And then imagine how much economic energy he would have at that point from going from 0.6 of a cent all the way up to $1, realizing 140x gains, and then how much ammo he could have to come back into the ecosystem that he got the gains from in the first place. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. That's just my speculation, but it's definitely cool to go and do this chain analysis and check this stuff out.
Yeah, I guess what's been your involvement in Solidex? You just noticed it early?
Well, yeah. So I can say that in terms of my involvement in it, like I know that Randy and the Fire Whale talked about building a coin for the Fire Whale. The Fire Whale is also a supporter of the Axis token. And so, I am a supporter of Solidex because I because Solidex has supported, the Axis token. So my involvement is that I want to see it succeed, and I'm involved to the point where it's part of the index, and we're working together to create positive price outcomes for our users.
Cool. Yep. Well, I don't know. What else you want to talk about?
Well, I think we should probably talk about Inc. Don't fade Inc. at this point. I think between BBC and Inc., look, BBC's trying to do, it's a rewards token, incentive token for people that want to provide in the farms. And like I said, we were talking about this PDI narrative and the potentials there. Well, you can actually go over here, and they've created a P farms area on 9inch, so you can get exposure to PDI and PRAP ETC, pair them against each other or Pulse, and earn a decent APR in BBC. And I think because the 9inch guys are going above and beyond to pay you for your LP pools and paying you with BBC in the farms, it gives you like an extra edge, to a reason to get into some of these altcoins in a place where you can actually earn yield. So it's not, it's cool because remember in V1 liquidity, you don't make the fees. You just get to farm Inc., but you don't make the fees. Those fees go to buy and burn PulseX. Yeah. Whereas in this one, you make the fees from your LP positions, and you get to farm BBC.
And is it buy and burn too? Pretty sure, right?
Not sure. I should find that out.
It's just something to do with your PDI, right? I talked about this in my stream yesterday. Like, if you are holding it and you do want to help lock it to Pulse, and you want to get paid for it in BBC token, and you want to earn fees, just an option. But at the same time, you're also diluting the pool, so don't dilute me, bro.
Sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up.
No. It's like, that's the thing. It's like, you got to tell people about these. And if you get diluted, that's just what happens. The more popular a pool gets, the more the rewards have to be divvied up between more people. Someone in the chat wants to know about the Sun token, Sun mini meal token. Have you heard about that one?
Yeah. So I've been trying to get to the bottom of that one for a while. And
it's like a real world asset token. It's like one of the first RWA coins. It's like a real company in Germany that's making these like mini nutrition bar things that somehow the coin is tied in with membership or something, and it just went huge pump today.
Dang.
Hex Scout just DM'd me about it and was like, hey, check this out, we want to get more attention on this thing because it's a legitimate company, and they spoke in front of Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, that sounds interesting. I don't really know too much about it.
I wish I knew more about the company. Here, and while we're live on stream, this thing's pumping. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing 2x while we're here on stream.
Always something pumping, guys.
There you go.
Ecosystem.
That's the target before the end of the stream.
But the thing about this one is, like, I think I want to say it brings a bit more legitimacy in terms of like the normie world, because it's like a traditional company, right? Like, it's going to be interesting to see some first AI coin, or first securities token, or first there's all these other asset classes besides meme coins that you guys can build whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a meme coin. That just happens to be the easiest, lowest effort thing to do. But yeah, for business ideas, real world assets, anything, PulseChain is it's an open playing field.
So these guys, they went and sponsored the blockchain summit in Dubai, and I think they were the #1 sponsor of it, and they may have had a hand. I don't know. This is speculation, of course, because I don't know, but they may have had a hand in why the highest of stakes was on the plane.
Oh, really?
I forget what airline that was. Well, it would make sense, right? Because
that could have been anybody. But yeah, they did sponsor the talk in Dubai. They spoke in front of tons of people. They're speaking in front of, I think, a Tony Robbins conference. I mean, and we're talking about the mini meal project, but just the fact that they're launching on PulseChain means that they're bringing the PulseChain brand to brand new asset classes, brand new circles of investors that might not have heard about it.
Yeah, and I totally 100% support this type of stuff. Like, I don't see any old OG Hex guys going out and sponsoring the whole Dubai thing, So it's like, hey, this is awesome that you have people outside of our community, or somewhat in the shadows at least, now coming public and having like $100 million company involved in our chain, creating assets backed with real world stuff. That's something to get behind for sure. I wish I could know more about it. Their website's kind of lackluster. I went on there a couple times. I just couldn't really and plus it's not in English, so, or at least the one I saw. So, but yeah, they, yeah, and like even on the coin, like if anyone from there is listening, like let's get a banner on here and a nice explainer what this thing is, because you know, you're in your little regional market, but us Americans are dumb, and we need to be able to know what you got going on there.
Yeah, you can use Google Translate on those websites. It does work. No, I think it's just like this nutrition bar that's like supposed to give you all your daily nutrition, but like their membership program and their discounts, you can get discounts on them. It's almost like Huel or like Soylent, I want to say, one of those subscription-based platforms that's supposed to give you all your nutrition in one simple serving. Yeah, I guess it's like a popular trend or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with getting, you know, I'm cool with the day when we get the pill that has everything we need for our daily, you know, allowance in one little pill, and you don't have to eat anymore. That's cool with me.
Hey, I still like food personally. I might just become a recreational.
I heard you. I already am. It's my pastime.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, oh yeah, no. When it comes to food, you like the catch of the day, you know, top shelf.
That's right. That's right. No, just pizza from a vending machine for me.
I'm pretty sure I walked by the cake machine one time. It's like, hey, is that velvet chocolate cake any good?
In a vending machine? Wow.
Remember we were in Vegas and we went
Yeah.
by the cake machine, and you're like, hey, have you ever tried
I
that?
know.
Or
I know. I actually got a pizza out of that one, the other one
Okay.
one night. It was like the only thing open.
We
So
had
it was like $10 piece of fucking pizza. They warmed it up in the vending machine. Only in America, guys.
That's funny.
Oh, and it tasted like crap as well. So
Yeah, what else is going on?
got 7 in the chat.
What up, Crypto 7?
Team RH.
We just did a stream last week, or this week. Time flies. Hey, Liquid Loans is starting to try to bottom against PLS here.
Finally, geez, Liquid Loan has been pooping the bed.
Yeah, it was tough for a while because it's like, well, why would I sit in a vault here and watch things depreciate and my APR go to trash, instead of going to the ink farms? But if they're going to give us a reason to come back to Liquid Loans, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, it looks like a rounded bottom. You know, this is what everyone hated on INC for up until INC pumped. I'm telling you guys, all it takes is one of these little pumps for people not to hate this coin. And all of a sudden, it becomes the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Mm-hmm.
And all those narratives, nobody, you know. And I don't give a crap about keeping the receipts and all that stuff. But I notice these emotional people out there that they hate on one thing until it pumps, and then they change their mind, and it's just emotional investors. But yeah, loan token does not look great. I'm still earning it. Thankfully, it's it's worth something. But you know, what incentives could you see for this token coming back, or do you think it would just be like founder buybacks?
Oh, I mean, I think it makes sense with this low liquidity here around like 100 grand. If you put 50 grand in there, you can 4x the price. So to me, it makes sense if like at least the biggest vaults in the system use some of their stablecoin yield to buy back the loan, or because I imagine what's been going on is the TCR continues to grow, which is the total collateral ratio. It's like the global metric for measuring how over collateralized the vaults are is a global metric. Mm-hmm. And it's important to know because like if that number gets so high, then there's pretty much no meat on the bone for guys that don't want to put in or have a huge collateral ratio. So it kind of like limits the usability of it. So I would like to see those guys like either lower their collateral ratios and or buy up the loan supply at these prices, and then send it. And then if they sent it, like it would put meat back on the bone, and allow a next wave of people to come in and set up vaults. And it would be cool if they do it right now, where Pulse is like trying to form a bottom right here before the Bitcoin halving, so we could set those vaults, borrow some stable coins, and help pump the price of Pulse back up with it. So
that would be a good idea. Bitcoin halving is tomorrow, by the way. But the one thing I think people don't realize is that these teams have a plan behind the scenes. I don't talk to these teams. Like I'm not in constant communication with the Liquid Loans team, but my guess is that they understand what's going on. Like my guess is that 100K liquidity is deliberately low for a reason. 100%. And my guess would be the same thing that you just said, that they'd be accumulating Pulse and then perhaps one day do something similar that 9inch has done or that PulseX has done. involving founder buybacks and liquidity games to spark things up at the right time. But they're also more patient than a lot of the day-to-day, crypto
100%.
Twitter, right? They can wait a lot longer and they want to shake the most people out before they pump their own coin. Long story short. Ghost, BBC INC farm. Interesting. Thank you for the tip. I mean, that's just like,
so we can look at that.
Coins, like,
well, I think he means like the actual BBC Inc. pair.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, and so then maybe if we look at the chart and measure, how their performance is. Yeah, we'll see what that looks like.
How much liquidity is in there on 9?
I have not seen this chart yet, so I'm actually kind of excited to look at it.
Yeah, I actually haven't given this thought. BBC INC has $94,000 of liquidity in the farm. It's pretty low.
Yeah, I think it's a brand new farm. Look at how the volume just spiked on it. It looks bigger than it is.
Yeah, make it log. Get rid of that first candle.
Okay, so you can pretty much say that none of this matters, and the farm got added on this green candle here. So BBC currently, let me go down to like a 12-hour maybe. BBC currently overperforming Inc. It was up it's almost 3x. Now it's pulled back 40%. I guess the trend line to watch here is here. It seems like because BBC is more undervalued and because it's got a lot of bullish things going on in terms of farm additions right now, perhaps BBC has a move, and so you're going to lose some Inc. short term. But if Inc. starts moving and BBC is moving at the same time, which one's going to overperform? That's a great question. What do you think would be some of the factors that would lead one to overperform the other?
It's going to have to do with campaigns like 9inch can easily do like a marketing campaign with having meme coins on your side could be powerful, because if there's a hot new meme coin where people rush into the 9inch as a whole, BBC could benefit in an unrelated way, just by the residual effect of more attention in that ballpark. There's not necessarily enough history on this chart for me to say there's a clearly established mean that this ratio will revert to. But if you just look at the few times that there was somewhat of a support and resistance on the ratio, it seems to be about 10-1. At a 10-1 ratio, BBC and INC. That sounds reasonable, right? BBC roughly over time being worth 10% of an INC.
Yeah, and maybe this really just boils down to the total amount of TVL on the two. And like how much backing, so you could kind of think of that as like how much backing does each one of these incentive coins have. And of course, I think the market has to somehow factor in the risk and volatility of the coins that is in the BBC farms over the risk and the volatility that's in the core farms. Obviously, the safer play is going to be a heavier market. When the moves come, they're going to actually stick. And maybe with BBC, like it's much more volatile because it's tied to coins that are also much more volatile. So I think you could think of it as BBC is a little more risky, but it could be more volatile in both directions. So it's opportunity. And Inc. is going to be like, if you're questioning anything, you just stick with Inc. Like I would not farm.
Yeah, I wouldn't join the farm personally either, but it is interesting to look at. Obviously, like I'm not going to pair these two together personally, but
yeah, I don't want to lose I don't want to lose my rewards. I'd rather compound my BBC tokens back into something else I hold a lot of than pair it with Inc., which I could lose my Inc. Like I don't want to lose my Inc. or the BBC. So but I see why they'd want to bond them so that incentives become aligned.
Yeah.
So maybe there is something there that I'm not seeing. I don't know. I have to think more about it.
Yeah, and I mean, you could almost say that BBC is where Inc. was at 2 months ago. The all-time low might be in for BBC now because I know Hexy was like just, waiting for it to bleed out. And so I don't know if the bottom is officially in, but it could be kind of just like where INC was at 2 months ago.
730%. So this would be the similar. So let's just assume that was the bottom, and this isn't going to happen pound for pound, but let's just say you get something like this out of BBC now.
We've got a tip in the chat. Thank you, Crypto7 Army. Shout out to you guys for the 7.77 euro. C HUD. Gracias, senor.
So boom. So this is kind of what, if it replays out similarly to, you know,
Do not Google BBC bonding. This is good advice.
yeah, don't do that, please, especially live. You might lose your channel. Just kidding. Yeah, so like look at if this doesn't ink, if this pulls an ink, you're going to see 30 cents by May. And do I think that this is they doesn't have to happen like this at all. I'm just, for a visual in a time frame, this is kind of what it would look like. But what you'd need to see here is you'd need to see this trend line kind of hold. Something like that, but yeah.
I hope we're in for a reversal in the overall macro crypto as well. We've seen Ethereum dip below $3,000. Really want to see that start moving. The halvening is going to be a catalyst for attention into Bitcoin, and we're just kind of hoping that Ethereum, the ratio of BTC to ETH, is actually improving as well.
Yeah, let's look at that stuff quick. So
to me, that's kind of just more important than any. I don't know. I tend to take a bigger picture view. The meme coins are fun in games and all that, but man, when are the real pumps going to start happening?
Right. So, I mean, Bitcoin's basically bull flagging right now.
Kind of.
Yeah, it is. It's messy, but here's the thing: is like I would welcome a crash. I really would. I know that people don't want to see that, but look, if we're at like this point in the cycle, like I'm okay with this. Like if we go back test 42K, which is where the ETF went live, and like you can ignore. Okay, guys, this here is an anomaly. Just ignore that. But if this is generally what we're going to do is this, and then we're breaking out next year in May, and then we top, I don't know, end of the year, then that's welcome to me. Like I'm cool with that going a little bit. This period here would be a huge opportunity.
It's interesting how your mind always goes to fractals of the previous, and that's a good charting tool that I don't really do too often.
Well, and then there's the other perspective on this too, which is more like the cycle before that, and this actually is one of my favorites because it played out literally pound for pound with some minor divergences going all the way back through. So you had this divergence here where you had an FTX crash, and then it met here, and whereas 2015 went up and then came back down. And this period right here is interesting because that's when the banking crisis happened. Oh, I'm sorry. This right here was when the banking crisis happened in March of last year. And that was where we reversed price in just like less than 10 days, and it went up like $10,000.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's never going to happen the same way twice. I would predict like a more volatile end of the year, what with the Fed going back on what they said. Basically the inflation numbers are still high. They're always going to be high, right? But they're still higher than the Fed wants for the reversal or for the rate drops. So we might not even get 3 rate cuts this year. Kind of throws a wrench in things a little bit.
Let's just see here. Yeah, in terms of the rates thing, we can talk to that a little bit. It's interesting to me, but yeah, I think higher for longer, just to try to, inflation's not going away. Everything's more expensive. Wages are going up too now. So they're trying to match it on that end of the equation. Yeah, I just think like higher prices is the new norm. And yeah, I don't know if rate drops come this year at what point. And, but when they do, then that's when we'll get a spike down and then a rally like you've never seen. But let me just close out some thoughts here on this fractal. So, you could see that this cycle, we underperformed the 2015 on a few occasions. And then most recently, we finally went higher than that fractal. So this is kind of like I love how you conceptualize the reversion to the mean. And so, if we've under, then over, then under, over, like it seems like it's time for us to come back into the general flow, which is probably like this parallel channel. Maybe something like this. So then now this is what we're looking at, guys, for Bitcoin. You're either going to, and yeah, this sucks. It's like, it's either going to be up or down. Yeah, sure, that's markets. But, you could be seeing a bottom around in like the 50K region sometime in August, which would be perfect. That's where DeFi summer sparked last cycle. Or we could be, coming back into here somewhere and then starting to try to catch up. Now, do I think that this is just going to happen for this cycle? Probably not. So, this may be it for this particular parabola for now. and we'll spend like something like this. We'll spend some time doing something like this from here
Real
on
quick,
out.
want to shout out Crypto Boogie. Thank you for the tip, dude. Big fan of dips, even if people spaz. Yeah, get used to that, man. This is crypto. People are going to be spazzing out no matter what, for all kinds of reasons. Spazzes left and right. Thank you for the tip. I appreciate that, Crypto Boogie. And
Yeah,
Wild SJ, got to say hi to her. What's up, Wild SJ?
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining and coming in and
We've
watching
been going
this.
over an hour, yeah.
Yeah, I mean we can wrap with some ETH BTC fractal shit and look at the ratio. This one here looks a little bit more beat up, and this is ETH, of course. And remember, everyone thought Richard bought the top, right? They're like, oh, Richard bought the local top. He's dumb. But I tend to think that there's more behind the method to the madness, because when I look at the amount of supply available on the market, it's just there's just nothing available for sale. So part of that strategy was to absorb so much supply that any short-term downside would be basically null and void. I like to use Glassnode for this, but you can see here that the amount of Ethereum on exchanges is at the levels it was at way back in 2016, May of 2016. We haven't been this low in terms of on-exchange balances of Ethereum. Same kind of situation and setup is going on Bitcoin.
Yeah, big outflows, and that's a bullish thing, by the way, guys. When you see inflows into exchanges, it's usually bearish because they inflow with the intention to dump it, but outflows, pretty cool.
Yeah, so because he's adding, when you buy like hundreds of thousands of ETH, you're adding to the problem, which is that there's not enough supply, and you can see that these are inverse correlations. So as the price goes up, the amount of on exchange balances goes down for Bitcoin.
It's great, which means people are custodying, which means if that's a similar trend happens in Ethereum, it's actually going into DeFi. It's not going into paper ETH.
Yeah.
Real
Franklin,
quick, thank you for the tip, Daniel. 87 licensed seed says, "What about it? Pulse any analysis?" Thanks for the tip. I guess we'll get to Pulse at the end.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
We got just Franklin was asking something in the chat. We got that handled, Franklin, and we're on DBank now, so that's awesome. Thank you for your help. So yeah, then just back to Ethereum quick, and then we'll touch on Pulse, because there's just so much going on. I think it's funny when I hear people complain about Pulse right now, because it's like, dude, what world are you living in? Like, there's so much good stuff going on Pulse every day, and I got developers calling me. I missed a call before the stream just because I'm so busy. Like, I just can't keep up with everybody that has cool ideas that they want to build on PulseChain.
Oh yeah, me too, dude. I'll have like 4 hours of straight calls in a row from just people like kind of pitching their ideas, but I'm also just like letting me know about them, and I'm just like, man, like my brain is so scrambled these days. Like
100%.
Look, and I respect to all the builders, but I guess we do have to say that it's your baby, it's not our baby, right? Build it on PulseChain, absolutely. We're happy to talk about it, but we're not going to know every little minute detail of every little coin.
Yeah, I'm happy to help on the tokenomics front in the ways I can, of course, but yeah, my time is limited as well.
But it's cool though. I mean, it's actually extremely bullish, right? We've been talking about divergence for a long time, and it's like the attention divergence of where people are actually focusing their energy and eyeballs. It hasn't caught up with the price yet. So that goes along with PLS in general, I guess. Do you want to zoom out to PLS?
This is it. So this is PLS on a daily. A couple things that I'm seeing here in the MACD. We have these bull crosses. Well, we just had a fake out where Nick Cherry came in and nuked us, and Nick Cherry and friends came in and nuked us. So this bullish cross failed, but here we are going into the halving, and we're getting a second chance for a bullish cross on the MACD. So when they happen in sequence like this, where you get an attempt and a fail and a fake out, and then now another attempt, it's definitely getting close to go time. And
F you, Dick Cherry.
See you later, bro. He's out. Yeah, he sold the bottom, baby.
Congrats, bro. You sold your future. Go back to work at Coinbase.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's so rich already. He's walked away with like 16. It's like, why would you? Whatever, man. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you're already a millionaire, I don't understand selling the bottom.
Yeah, there is this weird phenomenon with some whales where it's like a power seeking thing where they have more money than God, but they still insist on hurting somebody's project. It's like, why you gotta like, you could have sold, like, I've seen guys that have like massive like 200 billion pulse bags that come into like a small altcoin that they have like a decent sized position in, and they'll just murder it. It's like, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense.
Cherry. And we're gonna have more guys like this, but any whales out there that want to sell quietly, especially in the bull, it's gonna be a bit easier. pday.ai is gonna have an over-the-counter OTC module, which is basically an off-chain order book for rich guys to buy from other rich guys without hurting the price, and without eating slippage as well. So
Yep.
that pday.ai thing is gonna be pretty cool.
I can't wait for it. I think the Pateas team is awesome. I guess it would probably be appropriate to show you guys that this just launched yesterday, and you can actually OTC through 9mm. Now, I haven't tested the contract. I don't know if it's audited. I don't know if it works, or if you can get hacked and lose all your money. So just keep that in mind. But it does have. Let me see if I can connect here quick, and show you guys the marketplace here. This is kind of neat, where you can see that this is the marketplace. So these are people trying to get filled on different coins. Let's see, PulseChain, Switch Network, boom, refresh. Okay, so we got some coins that people are putting up, like 1 pulse for 100 reward token, whatever that is. But you can come in here and set up an OTC deal.
This is on 9mm today.
It's just launched yesterday. So if you want to
Shout out
sell,
to those guys, that's pretty cool.
let's say you want to do what? So you want to do? I want to sell an axis. If I want to sell 1 axis, I could set the price. I could say market price is 350 right now, but I'm willing to accept 300 million pulse. And then
What's
you
the
just
type of this?
it's otc.9mm.pro.
Is this like not official yet, or
It's they announced it yesterday and launched it. But I would just caution people that I have not tested this yet, so please be careful if you're gonna mess around with this. But yeah, you can basically set up an OTC order on their marketplace here, or you can set up a specific address. So this is a escrow for if two whales don't know each other and they want to make an OTC trade, and it's specifically for this person or that person, then you can actually put their address in here and then give it a timer so that they have 1 hour to fulfill the order. And so basically this just approves the ability for the contract to execute and take the amount of coins that you allow it out of the wallet when that other guy also does the handshake. And so this is like an OTC order book here.
yeah, I can see some orders up there already. Mostly just like a meme coin, and then 1 PLS. You know, someone's trading 200 PLS for. I don't know how to read that. Offer 100 for 200k PLS. $100.
Looks like there's a coin called Popcorn Bucket, and they're selling 100 Popcorn Bucket for 200,000 pulse.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get some. Let's verify that this is a safe contract to use. I've used 9mm V3 decks in the past, and that's worked for the most part. Some minor errors in there with the UI, but this has potential. And and then also we also have the pday.ai contract coming as well. So cool. But yeah, just final thoughts on Pulse here is that Pulse is looking like it's about to reverse, and what's carrying it right now is Hex. Hex is it's pumping. Yeah, okay, that doesn't look like a huge candle, but I mean that's the beginning of something, guys. This is how good things start. So
shit, I hope you're right. Thank you, Axis. Dude, it's been a pleasure.
bet.
Let's cut this off. I mean, I think we're kind of up to date with the chat. Everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Axis Alive. Follow him. Twitter, YouTube. He's got a Discord. I haven't been in your Discord in a while, but I think I'm a member. Look, he's smart. He'll teach you about liquidity. He'll teach you about advanced stuff, drawing pretty lines on charts, and reading the tea leaves. So, Axis, anything else you want to leave him with?
I appreciate you guys. I will be. Let's see what do I got going on. I feel like I have streams coming up next week, so keep an eye on my x.com account /AxisAlive, youtube.com /AxisAlive. Yeah, appreciate
Thanks,
you for having
everyone.
me on coffee. Thanks.
Like, subscribe, share the video, leave a comment. Bye-bye.
Peace.